Who else wants to chime in on the topic of the importance of frame when it comes to advanced dating? Anybody got any experiences
I'll jump
or
in on it.
stories? Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm a little bit different from some of the other guys here. I'm on marriage
Who's that? Is
number
that
2.
Steve talking?
Yeah, that's me.
Steve. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so again, I'm 40. I'm on marriage number 2. Kind of what brought me into this space was the concept of frame, and then later on the concept of vetting. So first marriage fell apart. 100%. It was one of those betatization through 1,000 concessions, and I realized it years in. Last marriage lasted a little over a decade. I realized it several years in, and made the attempt to kind of reestablish frame. At that point, it was too late, so things fell apart. Went to spinning plates. I was for a few years 100% cold approach, no dating apps, no nothing. It was all based on repeat encounters with girls, and building conversation naturally that way. And during that, I had a particular girl that kept rising to the top of always having a good time with her. Definitely the easiest to get along with. And from my perspective, the transition to LTR was something I wanted, for my own reasons. One, my work is kind of a pain in the ass. And two, I personally find at this point the game of spinning plates to be somewhat exhausting. So I realized a little bit of a divergence there from the rest of the crowd, and that's cool. But for me, thinking about stability for my kids, long-term prospects of having a partner that I'm building life with, LTR was right for me. And one of the things, so early on, she kind of made the ask of, hey, where's this going? I said, well, listen, I have a great time with you, but what kind of commitment are you looking for, and what kind of commitment are you providing? So she kind of laid it out. Hey, I want this to be exclusive. I said, okay. And a few weeks in, probably 3 or 4, nothing had changed on her end, but I had cut everything off, gone exclusive. So I called her on it. I said, hey, look, we had this conversation, X number of weeks ago. Things have changed on my end in the following manners, 1, 2, 3. They have not changed on your end. I said, so I've overly emotionally invested. You're taking the driver's seat here. I said, I'm done. Had a great time, but this isn't working for me. She says, okay. Calls me back the next day. Says, hey, look, I thought a lot about what you said. I really want this to work out. I thought kind of about the items you laid out. Here's my plan. Would you give me another 30 days to turn this around? I said, let's meet for dinner. So I met. I said, unlock your phone, set it on the table. And she does it. And I said, I'm going to go through it. I want to see all your social media. I want to see all your messages. And she said, okay, but why? I said, what I want to know is, are you flaking on me right now because the story about your work is legit, or are you flaking on me because you're seeking attention and you're looking for me to fulfill something where you remain in control? And she said, go ahead. Went through her Facebook, went through her Instagram, went through her messages, went through the whole phone, and it turned out it was legit. 3 years later, we're still going strong. So what I stress to guys that are looking to transition from plate spin into LTR is, one, vet her behavior, vet her behavior with coworkers, vet her behavior with friends, vet her behavior on social media, vet her family. What's her interaction with her family like? And then back up the things that she says she's going to do with the actions that follow. And if those things don't jive, you need to run. So that's where
Steve,
I come out at
question
it.
for you. You mentioned that she gave you the where do we stand talk and then wanted to be monogamous with you, which you agreed to, but it didn't sound like she was holding up her end of the bargain during that time.
No, she stayed exclusive. Where she lacked was time commitment, energy commitment. It
I
wasn't
see.
the
Okay.
personal emotional investment into the relationship that I expect, because in my mind that kind of plays into genuine burning desire.
Okay.
If you have genuine burning desire, if you do consider me to be that best option, I'm not going to be an afterthought in your day-to-day life.
I'm curious about the other guys on the panel right now. Like, what are your thoughts on a pop phone scavenging hunt?
I'll give you my experience. I'm not going to ask. I think there's, I can certainly see that some guys it makes a lot of sense and it's something they want to do. But I think there's so many other behaviors that you'll be able to pick up on where it's like, it's either, well, that's probably the best way to put it. You'll see another behavior where you're like, okay, this is not, we're clearly at two different places here. And, I think where it really comes into play is, is this going to turn into a long-term relationship or not? If this is just some gal you're seeing, it's like, well, who cares? But if this has turned into something more serious, and I agree with Steve 100%, checking those references, if you will tell you everything. But I don't want to go through some chick's phone, to be honest with you. Maybe I just
I'll tell you guys why I think it's actually not a bad idea, and I agree with Steve, because, she ended up giving him the where do we stand talk, and he's like, okay, fine, I'll abandon my sexual strategy of unlimited access to unlimited women. All right, but then the spidey senses started to tingle, and he wanted to verify for himself, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with that, especially given the conversation that he had and what his relationship goals are, right?
I'm in the same boat. With my current LTR, it's not like, every freaking second, but once a month, once every 2 months, if I just happen to see her phone, I'll pick it up, scroll through the texts, and see if there's anything weird there. Because she does outside sales, and 90% of her clientele are men, and I know what the deal is. So and it's not malicious or anything like that. It's just like, I'm going to make sure that everything is straight, and if it's not straight, it's going to be confronted immediately. It's just the deal. She knows that.
Yeah, I agree with that, and in my opinion, I don't want to promote an ongoing culture of mistrust.
Right.
And kind of the way I couched it in the moment is I'm asking for this because of the following criteria you and I agreed to. There's behaviors XYZ that don't align to this. You're telling me you want something different, that you want a second chance. I'm receptive to that, but I need some currency and coin in the realm to know that what you're asking for is legitimate and that I'm not just getting strung along. And so when she agreed to that, I think that was it showed heavy investment on her part that, hey, I'm willing to open the books to this guy. I'm willing to show him, the records he's looking for to get that buy-in. Because again, if hypergamy is not satisfied, or it's satisfied only in that moment, you are setting yourself up for failure. But when in my opinion, in that moment, she's willing to open the books and willing to talk about everything, that gives me that, as you mentioned, Rich, that extra reassurance. Okay, hey, I am the hypergamous best option here. She is being genuine in the things she's talking about. The story she's telling me about the work life is genuine, and there's not the social media attention-seeking behavior that I think wrecks a lot of women in relationship.
Right on. Derek.
I don't mean to cut everybody off and jump in for
Derek. Go ahead, Muff.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious because look, like, I'm curious the rest of the guys, especially Jaren's thoughts or whoever, but this idea of getting somebody being congruent with you, the idea of, I need to see your phone because I need to do this, I need to do that, and this idea of logically listing out the reasons why, as opposed to just, you decided you were going to commit and you were going to say, okay, we're going to be monogamous, but you don't see the behaviors changing in a positive way. So, in my opinion, the best way to change that behavior is to give less of your attention, less of your time. I mean, it worked out in the end, it seems like, and she seemed open for it, and that's great. But I mean, I'm curious what other guys think when it. In retrospect, was that the way that you guys would handle it, or is it just like, okay, like I'm going to go back to what I was doing because I'm not getting the results that I was promised?
Well, it worked because it didn't work because of any logical explanation.
When it comes to checking phones,
it worked because it gave her a huge emotional response. That's the reason it worked.
Go ahead, Jared.
There's no explain anything logically. It made her have an emotional response. It made her feel like, gave her an oh shit moment. And because she had that emotional response, that's what connected her to him. It wasn't any logic at all.
All right, Derek.
What? Hey.
Go ahead, Derek. I want to hear your opinion.
So I'm pretty split on the whole checking phones issue, but my whole thing with Frame is you got to know who you are before you invite anyone else into it. I just moved to this new city on the other side of the country in the U.S., and I'm here for a limited time. I travel a lot for work, so when I'm in town, I want to have a good time. And I've been seeing this chick a little bit younger than me for a couple months. She sat me down, had the what are we talk. And I was just like, look, I'm here to have a good time. And, I think you're wonderful. I've had a blast with you, but I'm not looking for anything too serious right now. And lo and behold, she was like, all right, not feeling this right now. Wanted something.
How old was she?
She's 22.
Okay.
Just turned 22 at the time.
All right.
Didn't talk to her for 3 months, kind of felt bad that it ended so abruptly, but then lo and behold, about a month ago at 2:00 in the morning, I get a drunken booty call, and now she's coming over in 2 hours. So, you just got to hold your frame and realize that they're going to try to, bring you into theirs to some extent.
Yeah, it's a really good point. Cause I mean, like, you made your intentions and your expectations clear. She said that didn't work for her, so she bounced, but she decided to come back when it worked out for her, though, right? I mean, you then became a better option or an acceptable option a few months later.